controversial water bill jumped a major hurdle late this afternoon, advancing through a Senate committee. It calls for eventually stopping all dangerous water discharges from Lake Okeechobee. Wake News anchor Britni McDonald joins us live in Clewiston along Lake O right now. Britni.
Well, let me give you a look at what we're talking about. I'm standing right next to Lake Okeechobee. You can see it's pretty dry right now, but we all know that quickly changes as the wet season approaches, and that lake overflow has to go somewhere. So every community, north, south, west, east, they all want to know how this will impact them. Well, eventually the goal is it won't. But for now, this Senate bill means compromise.
We agree that no one should have guacamole algae anywhere in their water.
An aerial view shows Lake Okeechobee today. Overflows currently run off into St. Lucie and Caloosahatchee estuaries, leading to this view last year. Clean water groups call it a public and environmental emergency.
Us having too much water in this lake is also detrimental to us, not only our lives because the levee can break, but if you had too much water in the lake, the second largest freshwater lake in the country could die.
The Clewiston community agrees the water needs to go somewhere, but no one wants to take it.
We all want clean water. Lake Okeechobee is a vibrant lake, but unfortunately when we get high waters, we do have to release waters to the east and west coast, which causes trouble for those coasts.
But now Senate Bill 10 calls for a long talked about reservoir to be built south of Lake O, getting water runoff out of the estuaries and into the Everglades, which could benefit from it. A worry in Clewiston is the sugar fields being broken down for the reservoir.
U.S. Sugar employs roughly 2,500 people, so a loss, we would have a huge loss of jobs. That would be a mass exodus of families.
A last-minute amendment called for more state-owned land and thousands of acres less in sugar fields, also saving millions of dollars.
We should all just kind of try to come together and see if we can find a solution that's amicable to all the parties.
And back here live along Lake O, it's important to keep in mind that this bill still needs full Senate and House approval. Count on Wink News to keep you updated on the progress. For now, I am live in Clewiston. Britni McDonald, Wink News now.
When many of you think of Southwest Florida, beautiful beaches, sunshine, and palm trees probably come to mind. And unfortunately, this may too. The brown water that we saw, that murky water we saw last summer when the Corps of Engineers discharged water from Lake Okeechobee. Right now, a group of fishermen is fighting for their livelihood at the state capitol. Wake News anchor Britni McDonald is live in Tallahassee with more on that. Britni.
Well, dozens of people from across the state came right here to the Capitol to demand action be taken to make our waters clean again. They tell me that many lawmakers here haven't heard much from fishing guides and captains about how this dirty water affects them until now.
You have an area that's starved for water that isn't getting it. You have an area that doesn't want the water that is getting it, and you have the Lake Okeechobee in the middle that is sending the water in places that it doesn't necessarily belong.
One by one, fishermen, families, and business owners filed through the state capitol to bring their concerns about the quality of our coastal waters to lawmakers.
We just want them to go in there and tell their story, how this has affected your life. And we believe that speaks volumes.
Daniel Andrews, a captain and fishing guide out of Fort Myers, relies on good water quality. He started the nonprofit organization Captains for Clean Water 1 year ago. That's now grown into this.
A lot of these policymakers hadn't heard, from a fishing guide, they haven't heard how it really does impact us on a day-to-day basis and the long-term damages that our estuary suffers from as a result of these discharges.
A bill being considered calls for a reservoir to be built south of Lake O to store up to 120 billion gallons of stormwater overflow, something clean water activists say will stop harmful discharges into our coastal waters and restore the Everglades.
I'd like to know that my children, my grandchildren, my neighbors are going to have clean water, and it's going to start relatively soon.
They're also getting the attention of Washington. U.S. Representative Brian Mast supports the cause.
The need is going to come to fund these projects both at the federal and the state level, and I want them to know that I have their back.
Activists tell me this is the most progress on this issue that they've seen so far, but this bill still needs full Senate approval. That's expected later this week. Count on Wink News for a complete update on that. For now, I'm live in Tallahassee. Britni McDonald, Wink News now.
Developing now, one possible solution to reducing the amount of water released from Lake O here toward the Caloosahatchee needs the governor's signature. But that's not the only thing that has to happen for construction to begin on a reservoir south of the lake. Wink News anchor Britni McDonald explains what's next.
A reservoir south of Lake O that would store 120 billion gallons of stormwater is something both the House and the Senate agree needs to be built. It's one way they hope to clean up our water that turns brown and murky when releases from the lake are high. Lawmakers passed a bill Tuesday that outlines plans and funding for the reservoir.
Getting this bill passed is just the first step. The reservoir should be built sooner, but it's still years in the making.
The $1.5 billion project still needs the governor's signature, congressional approval, and federal funding. But this bill puts it about 4 years ahead of schedule. The Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan, or SERP, included talks for a reservoir, but not until 2021.
The fishing industry and fishing community has been the catalyst to make this happen.
Wink News was there as Chris Whitman and dozens of other clean water advocates walked into the Capitol to take up their concerns about our coastal waters to lawmakers last month.
Our efforts in Tallahassee are very important, mainly because we are the voice of the fishermen.
Their voices are being heard, with more progress made on this issue than ever before.
The sooner we break ground and start actually physically moving water south, the better it's going to be for our state and its estuaries.
Britni McDonald, Wink News, now.
If it's approved, the first step would be developing plans for deep water storage in state-owned land. The budget, which still needs final approval, has $64 million set aside for this project this year. Wink News at 5, ramping up the efforts to stop murky discharges from Lake Okeechobee. Plans for a reservoir just south of the lake were approved by the state budget. Today, Congressman Francis Rooney took House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy up in a chopper to highlight the importance of funding projects to restore the Everglades. Wake News reporter Britni McDonald just spoke to both of them. She's live now from the Naples airport. Britni.
Well, the Congressman and House Majority Leader landed here just a short while ago, and after speaking with both of them, it's clear that this tour drove home not only the beauty of the Everglades, but the importance of restoring it. Well, that all takes money, but they're both confident we'll get it.
There's nothing more powerful than the impact of seeing something firsthand to understand and appreciate it. That's what Congressman Francis Rooney is hoping today's aerial tour of the Everglades and Lake Okeechobee will do for House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy. This is new video from his helicopter ride.
The tour that we just had, you can't walk through by just watching a map. The investment that the state and the federal government made, but this is a national treasure.
More progress than ever has been made on getting a reservoir built south of Lake O to store stormwater overflows and restore the Everglades, with it passing in both the Senate and House last week. But there are 68 projects in the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Project, or SERP, that have already been in the works for 17 years. Congressman Rooney says, let's get those done.
It's like a big construction project where you do a lot of things at once, and they all come together at the end to create a mosaic, a successful mosaic that solves the problem.
Many of these projects are already designed and qualify for federal funding. Now it's a matter of getting the cash.
I see the funding already coming now, but I see opportunities that we could speed it up to actually save the taxpayers' money, finish some of these projects earlier. I think for the environment it'll be helpful. I see a great opportunity to get the money.
So now it's a matter of when all of this will get funded, and it's hard to say exactly when the money will come in with so many projects underway. Now, this doesn't end here. Congressman Rooney is taking his concerns straight to President Trump, hoping that he'll include money for Everglades restoration projects in the fiscal year 2018 budget. Count on Wink News to keep you updated. For now, I'm live in Naples. Britni McDonald, Wink News, now.
Breaking in the past 10 minutes, Governor Rick Scott has just signed a bill into law that partially funds a reservoir south of Lake Okeechobee. And Wake News has covered that bill's progress very closely. It comes at the same time that Congressman Francis Rooney took House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy on this helicopter tour of the Everglades today. The other half of the funding for the proposed reservoir needs to come from the federal government. Wake News anchor Britni McDonald is live at the Naples Municipal Airport, where she spoke with both of them. Britni.
Yeah, well, this is a big step forward for our water quality, but the reservoir is really just one project of dozens that need federal funding and need to get done. That's what was talked about here today, and that's what the Congressman and House Majority Leader are hopeful we will get.
I'm very supportive of making sure this funding happens.
House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy got an aerial view of the Everglades and Lake O and some of the restorative projects that are already underway, along with the areas that need work.
Flying over, seeing the building of it, seeing some that are aged that need to be replaced, but more importantly, the combination of the public safety need, the environmental need, and to me, the national treasure of the Everglades.
Congressman Francis Rooney is pushing for federal funding for the reservoir south of Lake O, finishing the 68 comprehensive Everglades restoration projects in the works since 2000, and repairing the Herbert Hoover Dike.
All these things have to come together to get the water moving and being stored and deposited where it needs to be to prevent the harmful runoff into Caloosahatchee and to the Indian River, and to stop the erosion of the Everglades.
So this is kind of a look at the timeline. The Appropriations Committee will put together a final budget to include these projects to restore the Everglades by June or July. From there, it heads to Congress, who will vote on it by this late fall. Count on Wink News to keep you updated. I'm live in Naples tonight. Britni McDonald, Wink News now.
All right, thank you very much, Britni.